1972, a crack commando unit was sent to prison by a military court for a crime they didn't commit. These men promptly escaped from a maximum security stockade to the Los Angeles underground. Today, still wanted by the government, they survive as soldiers of fortune. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the A-Team.
I love it when a plan comes together. Welcome, gentlemen. Today, we've got the Ruger Mini 14. The Ruger Mini 14, first introduced in 1973, is a short stroke, gas piston, rotating bolt, semi-automatic 5.56 223 rifle. Let's go over the build. We've got the Samson A-Team stock on there, as well as the Psycho Omega 36M in the short configuration. This rifle has an 18.5-inch barrel, and that's the build. The Mini 14 gets its name because it is essentially a scaled down version of the 308 battle rifle, the M14. Although I do believe it does have some minor changes, a little bit different operating system, more or less a miniature M14. This rifle does ship with two nickel-plated 20-round magazines. They do make 25-round mags, and I think probably even bigger mags than that. I have not gotten any more than the two that it came with. I do plan on getting maybe a 25-round mag. The nickel-plated ones are sort of hard to find, and they're a little bit expensive. Definitely more expensive than a regular AR mag. You know it. You love it. The pop culture icon. This thing was all over television and movies in the 80s. Most notably for me, probably the A-Team, and sort of most notably, I think, for the legacy of the Mini 14, the A-Team. This stock is literally called the A-Team stock from Samson. So, also seen in video games, I think most notably would be PUBG. Unfortunately, unlike the A-Team rifles, which I believe were made to look like the AC556, which is the Select Fire SBR version of this, they were actually just regular Mini 14s with cut-down barrels, but semi-auto, from what little research I did. But that being said, whereas the AC556 is Select Fire and an SBR, this rifle, funnily enough, has an 18.5-inch barrel and is obviously semi-auto. Let's talk about manual of arms. So, the Mini 14 does have a charging handle that is reciprocating on the right side of the gun, as well as this op rod, or more like an operating bar, I suppose. The safety is in the trigger guard. I kind of like it. It's pretty easy to actuate, left or right-handed, you know, being disabled like I am. Left-handedness things are always nice. Same goes for the mag release. It is a paddle mag release. These magazines are rock and lock, They do look vaguely Stanag AR-like, but they aren't. They do rock and lock in there. Sometimes that causes a little bit of an issue when trying to Instagram speed reload, but that's not what this rifle is. So how does this rifle shoot? Well, I really like how it shoots. It feels almost AK-esque when shooting it. I would say the recoil impulse is probably somewhere between an AR chambered in 5.56 and a 7.62 by 39 AK. It's definitely a little more stout than a regular AR, but it's still not bad. Unfortunately, with this suppressor, which is the Psycho Omega 36M in the short configuration, it's super gassy. Eyes stinging, watering, very gassy. I don't know if that's specific to this suppressor. There is no adjustable gas system, so you can't really change it, but it is what it is. Accuracy-wise, I've been getting pretty good accuracy out of this guy. Obviously, I am just running it with irons right now, mostly because of aesthetics. I understand the suppressor doesn't quite fit into the retro aesthetic, but I just love shooting suppressed. But I did have an LPVO on it for a little while, and I was getting about MOA accuracy, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. How does it stack up against a modern equivalent? This is an Aero 14.5 pin and weld build with the Psycho Omega 46M on there. In terms of shooting experience, this gun has lighter recoil. Accuracy wise, I'm getting a little bit better accuracy out of this guy. Obviously, this has 4 more inches of barrel, which, you know, 4 inches might be too much more barrel, if you ask me. Anyway, triggers. This gun just has a mil-spec trigger in it, and obviously the stock trigger in this. The trigger in the Mini 14 feels chunky, like not in a bad way, but it does feel chunky. That's the best way I can explain it. It's not super heavy. It's got like a little bit of creep, a pretty good break, pretty clean break. The mil-spec trigger in this is heavier, and you know, the same regular sort of grittiness and creep with the regular mil-spec trigger. So I'd probably take the trigger in this over the stock trigger in this. Modularity wise, AR-15 unmatched. You can get different stocks for the Mini 14 that have like M-lock or rail sections. You can put, this gun did come with a Picatinny rail that you can put on top of it. And that's what I had the LPVO mounted to. But as far as attaching a grip, an optic, a light, you can do it with a Mini 14. It's just gonna be way easier with an AR-15. AR-15 Ergos, unmatched as well. These, especially for a left-hander, pretty good ergos. I can operate everything pretty slick, but I'd still prefer the AR. All right, let's talk about the vibes of this rifle. There are very few rifles that are more vibey than this. The aesthetics are unmatched, especially with the stainless steel, the wood stock, the A-Team folder. It doesn't get better than this, guys. Vibes unmatched. I was trying to do some 80s hip fire for you with this bad boy, especially with the stock folded. But unfortunately, again, because of my aforementioned disability, every time I shot, it would send rounds into my arm. So, not the best for left-handed 80s hip firing. That being said, right-handed 80s hip firing, I think it's goated. I think this might be the goated 80s hip firing gun. There you have it. All right, fellas, you know what time it is. I know what time it is. It's 1R1 time with the Ruger Mini 14. We're going to be doing it from the pocket of the shotgun vest, so we'll see how that goes. And we do have the timer out here today. Woo. 674 on there for you, with a first shot at .69.
Nice.
So, not the worst I've done, but definitely not the best. So, why the Mini 14? Well, for me, it's undoubtedly because of the cool factor. I wanted a Mini 14 because they're awesome. More realistically though, the Mini 14 is still a completely usable, good rifle that you could use for a ranch rifle, for self-defense, I believe, in states where like an AR-15 is banned, that guns like the Mini 14 aren't. So it's not a scary, this is definitely a more tactical looking stock, but it's still just wood, so it's not nearly as scary as that weapon of war, the AR-15. So that kind of stuff, like James Reeves talking about different guns and different attachments in a court of law having an effect on sentencing and shit like that. It's something different. Like if you're a Redditor who doesn't want an AR-15, I guess, it's something different. I, so far, really love this rifle. Again, both because of how it looks, but it feels good, it shoots good, very happy with it. If I had to pick one or the other, I'd definitely take an AR over it, but why not both? Well, there you go, fellas. The Ruger Mini 14 Boomer, and dare I say Zoomer, approved. Apologies for the lack of uploads lately, fellas. I've been very busy with school and work and regular life, so thanks for tuning in. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.